Hi everyone, in this video I would like to show you a few circular patterns and what I use in Substance Designer to achieve them, and also we'll be modifying those later on. So as usual, let's go through the process. So first we're going to start with the wave pattern. We're going to map it to the circle. And there's some subtraction here. We're going to add some highlights and maybe this blur to the shapes. And I think we're gonna end this lesson by achieving this texture, and in the second part we will continue having this basically, and we'll go into a bit more complicated shapes. So we will try to get those as well. And also I'm just add colorize notes to it just to demonstrate you how it might look with the colors. Okay, so for the first video we'll be aiming to get this, and the second part we will create those two, as those will be very simple, and those two are actually based on the first one. We're just adding some additional stuff to it. Okay, so let's now dive into Unreal Engine because I want to show you what I've got there. This is the effect I'm actually preparing for my February Patreons. I got a scene, and this will be like a status effect for the character. And as you can see, I'm using a lot of those circular textures, and those are in my library. We're probably gonna create this one and those three now, basically. I mean, this one in this video and those two in the second part of this video. Maybe later on we're gonna create that one as well, because that one seems really nice, and maybe this one, depends if you like it. But yeah, for those effects I just want to show you I'm using these three textures, but mostly I find that one the most useful. That's why I want to show you how to make this one, but I think it will be in the part 3 maybe of this series. But let me separate let me disable environment, and let me isolate this effect so I can show you how it looks. So I'll be just dragging textures over. So let's go back to my textures. So those two will be creating. So let me put that one in, and let me disable the rotation because I don't think this texture actually needs. So this is like a very basic setup. If I enable my material modifications, there is some distortion happening onto the texture. Okay, let me disable the material stuff and enable rotation again. Let me drag the second texture and the third one. So third one basically got a lot more details. Also, I think some other of those textures are really cool as well, especially that one's got like a very soft edges. Let me disable the parameters again so you can see the texture on its own. So yeah, I think that one is really cool. This one seems to have really nice edges as well. Yeah, I'm just gonna drag them over, and basically if you like any of those, give me a shout in the comments, and maybe we're gonna go through the process and create any of those. I really want to go through some of them, so let me know which you think might be useful for you. Yeah, that flower thingy, or I don't know what that is, but it's like a star basically. I think we might go and create that one as well. Yeah, again, just give me a shout. Which one would you like to see? And I'm sure I can just make a video. Yeah, we're definitely gonna do this one later on. Right, anyway, let's dive into Substance Designer and create those three. So those three, I think they'll be pretty simple, and they might give you an idea how to create those. So maybe you can dive into Substance yourself and try to create something on your own. But I want to start simple. I consider those to be very, very simple, and then we can dive into rest of those if you like. Okay, right, so let's go to Substance Designer. Okay, so as you can probably see, I'm building like a massive library of those nodes. So once I'll have a maybe nice collection, we can pick and choose basically what you would like to learn. Maybe I could create like a, I don't know, some sort of voting system. Maybe it will be Patreon only, probably not, because I want to, you know, give you a chance to pick which texture you would like to see next. But yeah, let's create our first circle or textures. Okay, so let's start with waveform. And what I want here, I just want low samples, something very, very simple. Let's go maybe with 6. For the pattern, I'm gonna pick maybe, yeah, let's try with this one maybe. Okay, that one. Later on we can change it. So it's a pattern number 5. Okay, sorry, let me zoom in. Next I'm gonna go for the shape mapper. For pattern amount I want only 1. Radius, width, and that should be it. Okay, next let's try slope, because I want to blur it and subtract from that texture. So I'm gonna create shape, the soft circle, I'm gonna copy and paste, and then I'm just gonna blend those two together with the subtract blending node. Okay, so obviously we got nothing because those are the same. What we could do this basically, and it's gonna give us those really nice shapes here. Okay, now maybe add a little bit noise to it. So I'm gonna blend it with something that might be considered as a circular. So one of those, I'm gonna shape mapper it again, and pattern 1, and we get something like this. Obviously I want to blur it just a bit because I need a little bit of noise, and maybe default values for the blur will do. And here I'm just gonna put it on multiply. So as you can see, it seems like we are darkening the whole texture, but if you go to this node and start increasing its size, you can see that we are getting some sort of a noise. So I'm gonna lower my blur to show you that. So as you can see, it creates this tiny little noise which I'm after. Okay, now we're gonna use multi-directional warp grayscale, and I'm gonna take this and map it to the circle. We'll be mapping a lot the circle, mainly because we are creating this circular texture, but I just want to give you a heads up. Okay, blur. Let's see how that looks. So we get a little bit of warp, but maybe I will lower the samples for the y-axis, so we get a little bit more randomization. I'm gonna put 50 so we can clearly see what we're doing. But I just want to create next layer of the randomization to that texture. Okay, right, so now let's maybe try to expand it further. So if you look at the texture, we're only covering this area, so I want to reach somewhere here. So I'm going to use slope blur grayscale, and I'm just going to use simple shape. And in here, I'm just gonna add more values to it. Like, let's maybe go with 30. Do you know what? It might be actually cool to add a bit more warp to it before we do that. So I'm just gonna create another slope, and I'm gonna use Berlin noise with the default value. Just slightly, so we can even, alter further those shapes. Okay, just slightly, something like this. I'm gonna leave it at 0.2, and in here I'm gonna increase the samples. Right, so I'm gonna use auto levels because it's very dark, and as you can see we got this problem, so I need to go back to the previous slope blur and just scale it down a bit. And now I wanna add a bit more noise to it, again using Perlin noise. And multiply here. Okay, I'm gonna decrease the scale on the Perlin noise because I just wanna just a tiny little bit. Or maybe let's subtract it and see what we get. Okay, maybe let's try this so we can get those highlights in random places, and let's blend it with our original texture. Yes, we got those highlights here, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's leave it like this for now. And let's maybe blend it again. But in here, I'm gonna get this texture again and map it to the circle. For the Y amount, I'm just gonna go with 5 and maybe 1 on the X axis. Let's try to multiply it. We need to add blur to it as well, so it's a bit more softer. That doesn't work. Subtract, no. Overlay, no. And let's have it on subtract. Right, so it seems like I can't figure out how to do it. So basically what I want to do, I want to create like those streak of lights in here, right? So let's maybe definitely subtract it, but go in opacity, for opacity 1. I'm gonna decrease the blur, so you can see I'm kind of getting those rays now, and now I can maybe increase Y so I can get this. Cool. Whew, okay, so now let's blend it with the one we had before, which is that one, and add it on top. Okay, so now we got those really nice highlights. Okay, in here I'm just gonna reconnect it so I can control the how much I want of this highlight. Okay, so I'm just gonna put it on 50% maybe. Okay, I want to do the same here, so I'm gonna rewrite it basically and put it reverse the order, so now I can decide how many of those streaks I actually want. Okay, because it will be very useful later on. So now maybe let's try to warp it, and for the warp we're gonna go for this one again. Use the shape mapper, radius full width, and I'm gonna rotate that texture here. I need to blur it as well because it's, yeah, I just need a bit softer shapes. Probably not to that extent, but something like here maybe. And now if you look at our warp, maybe put like a crazy number there, like 20. You see we're kind of getting those pretty cool shapes here and here. Okay, I'm gonna decrease the number of this one. Maybe increase it. Now let's give it maybe somewhere here. I'm gonna put X amount on, maybe let's try 5. Yeah, 5 be okay. And then if you want something a bit more softer, you can tweak the warp intensity. Sorry, not warp intensity. You can tweak the blur as well. For the warp intensity, you actually try this one. But I kind of like those shapes. The only thing I don't like is this ring, basically. Okay, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. I'm gonna use blur after it, just in case if I need one later on to, you know, soften the shapes a little bit. And now I'm gonna blend it with the circle. So I'm just gonna put shape, our soft circle, and I'm gonna set it to multiply. So we almost got rid of this one. So we can either do it through levels or blur. I'm just gonna try blur first. And now just increase the intensity to something like 50. And then I can control, do I want a ring or I don't want a ring. Okay, so maybe let's put it on, I don't know, 25, and then you can go to the shape and tweak the size of it. Okay, I mean, you can do it without it, but sometimes, right, this edge is actually too hard and you cutting out a lot of details, which is the one I want to do. So if you want to keep those details here, maybe try to blur it before you will plug it into the blend node and mask it. Okay, right, so this is our first texture, and now let's just gradient here. And now maybe let's try to add some simple colors. Okay, so I'm just gonna add maybe red, or maybe something closer a bit more to yellow, and then next one red, so we could get a nice highlight. Okay, and the next thing is you might want to add glow. And or even maybe not white glow, but something towards maybe yellow. Okay, so I think that's pretty cool. But maybe before we plug that in, let's maybe run it through levels and try to modify levels a little bit. I wonder if we can bring back some of the details that are here. Okay, let's maybe now plug the blur. And we get nice this ring, so we can tweak it and get rid of just this ring. Yeah, it doesn't seem like possible, so maybe let's go with the simple shape instead. And now we can get rid of that ring or outline, or maybe you wanted the outline, so you know, you can keep it. I don't think I want it there, so yeah. Okay, so that's our first texture, and in the next part, which is gonna go, we're gonna continue using this shape and modify it and create 2 additional textures. Okay, all right, so thanks for watching. I hope you find that useful, and see you in the next part.